All right, guys, welcome back. We have a great video today. We're going to be building a Forex trading bot, Forex signal bot first, then transitioning it into a Forex trading bot towards the end, utilizing the MetaTrader 5 library for Python. So we're not going to be using MQL5 today. We're going to be using good old Python. Um, I also want to show you guys my background too. I have Daft Punk. Since we're getting into bots, like let's use Daft Punks as our bot guides. Um, Now, for this, you're going to need a VPS. Specifically for this, you're going to need a VPS. The reason being is that you're going to need to download an earlier version of Python, version 3.9 or below, and you also need to download MetaTrader 5. If you do not have an earlier version of Python and you do not have the MetaTrader 5 library, as well as not having a Windows environment, you're going to be screwed. MetaTrader 5 library for Python only works within a Windows setting. So if you have Mac like me, it's impossible for you to use it unless you use a VPS, as well as getting an earlier version of Python as well. So you would have to download an earlier version and kind of downgrade your version too, because the current version is 3.11. So you would have to downgrade it as well. That's why a VPS is perfect. VPS is perfect for multiple reasons. You can run your scripts automatically, even if your computer is closed, because this is a virtual computer. It's always on. So even if my laptop's closed, I can run it here. All my scripts will run on its own. Two, it's a perfect environment for me to tinker with and set up any of my trading scripts so that it automatically is just everything that's required is there, as opposed to messing with my personal OS and kind of like messing it up for future scripts. I can just have this virtual environment set up for it. Specifically because we need to have an older version, and I do not want my personal system to have an older version. It's good to have a VPS that has all of that set up so that I don't need to worry about that on my personal system. So yes, get a VPS. If you don't have a VPS for this, you're kind of asked out. Excuse my French, but yeah, you're gonna need a VPS for this. All of Forex scripts, you're gonna need a VPS. Any bot in general, you're gonna need VPS. So I know some people may be trying to skip it, but if you want to get into actually creating bots, you need a VPS. That's why even if MetaTrader 5 you launch it, it's going to ask you, do you need a VPS? Because they understand that VPSs are essential tools for algo trading, essential tools for building bots. So I'm not telling you to get it, but I'm telling you to get it. All right. Specifically, if you want to write Python scripts for Forex trading, but I'm pretty much going to be running all my scripts from this VPS, including any other scripts I'm building in the future. So it's just the perfect environment for running scripts. And so it doesn't mess with my personal system and it runs all the time. So that's my little spiel for that. All right. So now let's get into it. Where is this? Oh, there we go. My Jupyter Notebook. So I'm launching Jupyter Notebook for this. And I got to install some libraries. Of course, the libraries that I already specified already. So let's import. Let's start from the top. So we're going to need datetime. Datetime. And you're going to see why once I kind of build this, like the first step out. Import datetime. What else do we need? Oh yeah, we're gonna need the MetaTrader 5 library, which is this. So pip install this if you don't have it currently on your system. So once your VPS is set up, I already spoke about this in an older video, but pip install this into your system once everything is set up. You don't need to do that again. Let me see, where is it? So it also mentions that pip install it. Yeah, so I'm just gonna just import it regular. Import MetaTrader 5, that's MT5. I'm giving it an alias of MT5. You can also give this an alias as DT if you want. It just kind of confused me. Wow, yeah, let me just give it DT. Let's give it DT, just make it simple. We need good old pandas. Import pandas. Spelled that wrong. That's PD. And we're going to also need this library here. Where is it? Oh, we're going to need this library too. Dude, good thing I left them all here so I can pick them up later. Sorry, just like the Zoom link browser thing is in front of me. There it is. It's Pi Tiz, and this is for working with time zone. So you would need to pip install this as well. We're going to be working with time zone. You're going to see soon. So let's make sure that I install it right. They have some. No, I don't need this. Import. Oh, just import it that way. Okay. Cool. Let's paste that there. Also, we're gonna need the TA library, which you can also, again, you have to pip install this as well too. But I just want, no, it's gonna be import TA. I like to have these all like I like to have all my imports in alphabetical order. That way, I don't know. I'm kind of have OCD with that. So that's why I wanted to do it in a certain line. So import TA. Let's run this, make sure. Now, if they tell you you don't have one of these libraries, again, you just have to pip install it. So it'd be pip install MetaTrader 5, pip install pandas, pip install pi tz, which time zone, pip install TA. That's a simple way of installing. Done it in past videos, so it's really easy. Now, next thing you need to do, we need to initialize MetaTrader 5. And I want you to see right here that I don't have MetaTrader 5 live on this VPS, but once we initialize it, which is where we're going to be calling the library here. These guys. Initialize. Once we initialize it, you're going to see it turn on. So look, yep, there it is. That's my MetaTrader 5. It just turned on. And now it's returning a Boolean of true, meaning that now it's connected to my MetaTrader 5 account, which is here. All right, perfect. All right, now that we got the connection to MetaTrader 5, we can actually have some fun now. So let's try to get the rate back for a specific currency pair. All right. So first we need to get the time zone. So I'm going to create a variable called time zone. And this is where we're going to use the Pi time zone library. I need to create a time zone from this library for my time zone, which I'm on the East Coast. So my time zone is US Eastern. So if you go back here, go to the library, Google search all of these libraries so you can understand. You can see there it is. It has pretty much documentation for all of the time zones here. I think they have. I'm gonna link this in the Discord, so if you don't have it, don't worry. They have some examples here, but I know they have a doc. I'm gonna link the documentation, so if you want to use your own time zone, you can use that. But good thing that in their example here, they already have my time zone, so I can actually just copy and paste this, and just paste it there. So yeah, pytz dot time zone, and I want US Eastern, which is my time zone. And then I want to create another object with date time, which is I'm gonna state it to Eastern, which is going to use the datetime object. All right. And we're gonna need this to actually feed this to MetaTrader 5 so we can get the rates back for a specific time zone and a specific time. So that's what the Eastern is going to be calling. So we're going to do the data, or actually it's DT. And there we're going to do, put this in parentheses. Actually, sorry, no, we don't. So 2023. So the great thing about this library is that it's automatically going to change it into a readable date object that we can iterate over with the MetaTrader library. So that's the great thing about the datetime object. And algo trading, I'm going to use this a lot. It helps clean up any date formatting or issues that we're going to have. You're going to see a lot of scripts. You're going to have to use the datetime object. So I highly recommend you look into the documentation for this, which I'm also going to link into the Discord after this video. All right. So TZ, which is going to be time zone info. We're going to set this to the time zone object that time zone variable we just created above. So it's going to set it to Eastern. All right, let's run that and make sure that's good. Perfect. Now let's get some data back. And this is where we're going to get the data back from a specific uh, currency pair. And let me go back here. Let me go to MetaTrader 5. Wait, no, let's go to the documentation here. We're going to use the copy rates. And right here in this example, it tells you what it's going to need. It's going to need the symbol, time frame. You see, remember we created this. Date from, which we also created previously too. And the count is just how many numbers of dates you want to get, how many number of ticks you want to get back, or bars in this case. All right. So this we're going to just copy this. Copy rates from. So it's going to be MT5 dot. That's where we're going to do the copy rates from. And this is where we put the symbol, because remember the symbol is the first parameter you need. And that's why in parentheses we can put, let's do Euro USD. Next, they need the time frame. Oh, yes. So the time frames are actually down here. So you see how they have time frames specifically. So yeah, the date from is going to be the time zone, but the time frame is like the time frame shown on MetaTrader. So let's just use D1, which is the date, which is day one, which is just date time information. So you see, this is minute, this is 1 minute, this is 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. If you ever work with charts, you see that they have specific time frames. So we're just going to use 1 day worth of data. So to use time frame that underscore D1, you would have to go to MT5 dot and then put time frame underscore D1. And now we can actually just use this object, this variable that we created before. And now how many bars do you want to bring back? I can just do 10. You can make this 5, well, you'll see. All right. Now let's run this and let's call it. So you see it's returning 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Returning 10 bars worth of information. We could change this to 5, run this, and it returns 5. So you see what I mean? It depends on how much data you want to bring back. All right, and to clean it up, we got to put this into a data frame. So we do a df variable, and we set that to pd.data frame. Again, this is good old classic Python, and then we just feed it the array information. So this came out as an array, as you can see right here, but we need it into a clean data frame that we can read. Because you see the array has like the value headers at the bottom, so it's not really easy to read. But once we put it into a data frame, we should be able to read it a lot easier. So I want you guys to pay attention to this. So we turn this into something more readable like this. So you see it says it has time, which is set up here, and now it's cleaner. It's just a lot cleaner, a lot easier for us to read. All right. So that's essentially how you work with, that's how you can return the time frame data from MetaTrader 5. All right. Now let's do something a little bit. Let's do something a little bit more different now. We're going to take all this information and we're going to create a signal script now. I just wanted to show you guys the basics of kind of working with the MetaTrader 5 library outside of what we're about to build right now. All right. So let's create a class. And we never created a class before, but this is where you can create your own object. Now, what an object is. Example of an object is, oh, honestly, most of this, aside from the variables, this pi tz is an object. Date time is an object as well. What is it? All of these are objects. All of these are objects. And so now we're going to create our own form of these libraries with the class call. And we're going to create an object. What should we call it? Let's call it. Let's call it class meta. Let's call it meta. So we're going to create an object called meta. All right. Right. And we're going to create a function to clean up the production of data from MetaTrader 5. That's what we're going to do with Meta. We want to clean up this process so we can get clean data from MetaTrader 5 that we can do things such as creating signals off of, right? So this is where we're going to call this function. What should we call it? Oh, what should we call it? Get, let's call it get data. Because this is basically what we just did here. I'm literally just going to take most of what we did here and just put it within this function, all right? And what it's going to take in as a parameter is the symbol. And that's a symbol we're going to have to specify, just like we specified the Euro USD here. We're going to specify it here once we call this function, all right? What else should we do? The count. So we're literally just going to be taking this. It's literally going to be this whole piece of information that we're going to take and fill in here and just clean it up. So I essentially need to create parameters for most of this. So that's what, okay, I already did the symbol. What else? I think the time frame as well too. Yeah, let's do the time frame as well too. So we're going to copy that. So we're going to put time frame. We're going to set that equal. So this is a variable that we're going to set equal to the MT5 time frame D1. And we just do the count. So the count we're going to leave as an empty variable that we're going to fill in once we want to return that information. But we basically just want, or we could just leave this as time frame if we wanted to, but let's just keep it simple and just leave it as D1. Because essentially we're literally just taking most of this and turning it into it. The reason why I didn't put Eastern is because just in case we want to change the time zone later on. So symbol is something that we're going to input in once we call this class. Time frame, we're going to leave it as a daily time frame. N is going to be referring to the count that we want to return, which we can set it to anything once we call this class. So let's just leave it as that. And let me put right above it. You guys are going to be so surprised to know that I actually, because I've been using MQL5, I've actually been lost when it comes to how to comment with Python again. I forgot it was the hashtag. All right, so use data pull variable from above to create function. I like to write comments just to kind of make it easier for me to read later on. All right, so now just like we also need to initialize the MT5 because this is a separate object from out here. So this is again like a global variable. You can think of it like that. Within this class object, it does not know that we're doing this. It does not know that we have a connection to MetaTrader 5. So we just need to make sure that we put it within this class object. So connect to MetaTrader. Okay. All right. Next, we need to get the date. Get date. All right. And this is where, again, we can actually copy this information here. Actually, no, we have time zone. Do we have time frame? No, we don't have time zone. So I'm just going to copy this. That's a beautiful thing about doing this. Sorry about that. All right, so now we got the Eastern time zone. And now we need to just import. So we're going to literally now just kind of use this information here. So now we're just going to get data. And we're just going to clean it up a little bit to work within this function. Actually, we're going to call this CR, or let's call it rates, just to make it simple. And we're just going to change it to, because again, we already have most of the parameters that we're going to call at the top of here. So we do symbol. It's going to be the symbol that we call when we run this function. Symbol, time frame, which we already specified is 1 day. We don't need to actually specify that again. And like we did here, symbol, time frame, Eastern. So we can actually, we just called Eastern there. So we can do Eastern. And what do we do? Eastern and N. That's going to be the count, just like we did here. It's just going to be the count that we're going to specify here as well. All right. All right. So now let's add this to a data frame as well, just like we did here. As you see, that's literally why, you see why I started the way I did, because it's just like copy and paste from here. Create data frame. Oh wait, no, it's not going to take data, it's taking in rates. Gonna make sure I change that. All right. I just want to make sure I keep an eye. So time, okay. Now we got to play with this data frame a little bit to clean it up. All right, so now we got to convert. All right. So now we actually have to put this into a legible time object. As you can see, what is this? Like, it's not a clean cut time object. It's not even readable. I don't even know what the hell that is actually. So we actually have to convert this into a time object. So you got to df, and this is where we're going to call this line here, this line from the data frame here, and we got to clean it up. So we do equals pd dot to date time. So if you know, the datetime module is also integrated into pandas, so we can actually use the to date time, which is automatically integrated into pandas to clean this up. So we don't have to use datetime, even though we have datetime up there. We don't need to, because it already has a module for it inside of pandas directly. So, and this will be df that time. That's the column that we're going to be targeting. And it looks like it might be seconds. So we got to set the unit to S. That might, it's the only thing that makes sense, because this is not minutes or anything else. So we got to set the unit to S, which is going to be seconds. All right. Okay, now, let's continuously clean this up a little bit more, because we also need to get the dates itself. So you know what? I'm going to copy this, because we also need to get the day, month, year set up from this as well too. So let's do a second cleanup. And this one, we're going to change the format. Let's change the format a little bit. And this is what we're going to use. So this is a date time object. This is the one that you're typically going to see once you play more with the datetime module. And this is just a way of specifying how you want the format to look. So as you can see here, this is year first, month, day. Example of that would be like 2023. what is it? Month 04, and today's the 29th. So this is the format. This is literally an example of how this format will look. That's what we're basically saying. We want to clean it up to look like that format. Let me just make sure that looks good. And it does. All right. Okay, well, let's set time as index. Your time should always be your index for every data frame. So that's kind of what we're going to finish off here with. So we're going to do df equals df dot set underscore index. All right. And return df. Let's run this, see what happens. Non-default argument follows argument. Hmm. Let's see. Give me a minute. Let me check this out. 1 second. All right. So I see the issue here is the placement of this end object. It's basically saying that I'm utilizing it in the same format. So let's try to move it somewhere else. Let's run this out. All right, now it's gone. Yep, welcome to programming, people. So it's always good to just kind of play around with things and see how they may work out or may not work out. All right. So now that we have this object, which will be getting us the dates, which is going to be getting us a clean data frame for us to play with. Now we can kind of create the signal. So we're going to do what should we do? An SMA or signal. Or you can actually, honestly, you can follow this instruction and copy the PineScript one that we created. So if you remember the PineScript signals that we created, you can actually create that one too. It's actually not that hard. It's actually going to look very similar, but we're just going to create a simpler one just to kind of keep it aesthetic. So we're going to create another function, and it's going to call signal. Create signal, and it's going to take in symbol. All right. This is where we're going to use our meta class. We're going to call that. And we're going to call the function get data. And it's going to take in symbol that we specified here, which is also specified in the actual function itself. And the number of data that we want to return, let's call it 100. Being a little bit razzle dazzle here. Okay, so get data from meta object. So you remember we put n because we want to see how much we want to pull back. Like we pull 5 back here. You see it's 5 here, even though it says this index is 0. Don't worry about it. So now I'm gonna let's not do 100. That's gonna burn out my freaking VPS. Let's go 10. I want some because no, we're gonna be doing some analysis over this. So I think that's even too low. But again, I don't want to burn out my VPS. So we're gonna do 25 and we're gonna be happy with it. All right. so now let's do the SMA fast and slow. Let's copy this. SMA slow. Now, if you ever seen my videos already, you already seen that SMA is like the easiest one to calculate because it's just literally a rolling window. but you can choose what values you want to roll the window into. Now, I know it sounds confusing, but let me explain. So when you do this, you're actually creating a column. So in the data frame, you want to create a column for the SMA fast and slow, and even RSI. So that's another one too. I want to put that there too. But you're going to see how you can actually play with this around. You could play with this to make it into the other one that's shown on PineScript. I'm going to show you real quick, but I just want to like do this so I can get this out of here. So let's go up here. See, it has the close value. So this is why we kind of keep this script up here. So we want to take the close values. All right. So we're going to take the close column. All right. And rolling means what you want to basically rolling window is just how many days you want to consolidate before you get the average. So we want to do an SMA fast. What would that be? The fast would be the closest to the current value. So don't we typically use SMA like as a 20-day SMA? So rolling is the amount of days. So that's what I mean we want to consolidate. So we want to consolidate 20 days, and then we want to do mean, which if you watch the data science section, mean is a NumPy call, and that is just taking the average. So the SMA is nothing more than the average of a certain amount of days. So that's what rolling is. It's taking the 20 days worth of, oh shit, since it's taking 20 days, crap, I got to increase this. I just realized, well, 25, 20 days and 20, yeah, 25 is, but I just want to expand it a bit. So let's go to 50, just because we're taking 20 days worth of data. And we're probably going to be taking more for the slow shit. We're going to probably take more for the slow. So might have to increase it from there too. See how you just think about things and you're like, wait, no, that doesn't make sense. So I actually might have to use 100. Crap. Please pray for my VPS. So yeah, it's going to be taking the average. So rolling is say like, hey, take 20 days worth of close values and then get the average of them. And that's going to be the SMA fast. Now the slow is going to be the same thing, but then it's going to be a larger amount of days that you want to take the average of. Let's do rolling window of 50. Get the mean of that. So I'm gonna put this get SMA values. Get RSI values. Now this is where you're gonna really learn how to create an indicator. All right. We have a beautiful library here called the TA library. Where is it? There it is. The technical analysis library, and it has a bunch of indicators like boiler bands and a whole bunch of other ones. I'm going to have the documentation link too, so don't really worry about it. And what we're going to take from there is the RSI value. So this is where we would do TA dots, and this is where we can do a tab to see what they have. Momentum. This is a momentum. And do tab. Let's see what they have here. RSI. I believe this is the correct one. All right. Let me just double check that because I just want to make sure I didn't get the wrong one. Oh, so oscillator. ROC. Oh, so I might have gotten the wrong one. I think it's RSI indicator. That's the one I was supposed to get. I wonder what the other one does. Let me just go back to the documentation. Let's look at an example here. Indicator boiler band. So I think, yeah, it was supposed to be RSI indicator. All right. All right, go. Hopefully I am correct. If I'm not correct, we're going to go back and change that. All right. We're going to go back and change that. All right. So now let's do something similar to this. You can copy this here. For the RSI indicator, we do need to get the close values. But we don't need the rest of this because that's for the SMA. So we do need the close values, but we need to set a window. A window is just like what the rolling does. It consolidates a certain amount of days. So the typical RSI that we use is the 14-day RSI. If you've seen the Pine Script video, you already seen that. You put in the 14 days for that. And that's typically the one that we're gonna be using most of the time. I roll the window 14. I'm checking something. Close this. Oh, I was like, if something doesn't look right here. So the window equals 14. Then gotcha. I was like, something didn't look right. So whenever you ever look at something like that doesn't look right, and then we just call the RSI. So this is when we call RSI. All right. I was like, something just doesn't look right, and this is wrong too. What the hell did I do there? All right. I gotta get previous day. Day RSI. So pretty much gonna have to create previous day. And what I could do to do this, what we could do, we can do RSI. So we do prev. So it's gonna be previous day RSI. It's just gonna equal RSI. And this is where you can use the shift method. The shift method, which you're gonna see a lot too, it allows you to move within the index of values. So if you remember, the index always starts from 0. So the current RSI value will be at index 0. If we want to go to a previous index, we have to specify which one is going to be. So the previous day index would be 1. The day before that would be 2, et cetera, et cetera. So we're shifting it 1 to get the previous day 1. All right. And now let's set the conditions. Set buy and sell signal conditions. All right, because now we have the indicator set up. So now we could just do buy one. So we can create a variable called buy one, and it's going to be the first buy condition. And we're going to use if the fast, let's do iLock. iLock is basically taking a value from this column. We're gonna do this one, and that's gonna be the previous SMA fast value. And if it's greater than the previous SMA slow, because we can't do the current one, because then if we do the current one, it's just gonna be always updating. So we just want to always keep an eye on the previous one. That way we know the crossover happened. Just like in the MQL5 EA that we built, you've seen that I put a condition for both the current and previous one, just because the crossover has to be determined based on those two values. If one is underneath the other, then it's over the other one. That's considered a crossover. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. All right. If that's greater than that, it's going to be slow. By score 2, and it's going to be the RSI value. If RSI value, and same thing, we're going to be doing the iLock. You also get the previous one, so -1 is less than previous psi iLock. That's going to be -1. Those are what the buy 1 and 2 is. Because, with RSI, you want to buy at the bottom. So you want to buy like when it's closer to 30. So the lower the RSI, the better the buy opportunity. So you buy when the RSI is low, you sell when the RSI is high. So you buy close to 30, you sell close to 70 or at 70, depending. All right, and we can literally just copy and paste this and do the sell side because it's going to be the exact opposites. Sell. And you can put comments here if you want to. It's going to be the exact opposite, so we can just switch these around. All right. All right. And now we can just give an idea of what buy looks like. Buy equals when buy 1 and buy 2 are both true. All right. When both of these are true, that's a buy. Same thing with sell. And sell 1 and sell 2. And sell 2. When both of those conditions are true, so return, buy, sell. So that's once we put in the symbol, it's going to go through all of this, and it's going to return a buy and sell signal. All right. Let's run this, make sure it's good. So now let's call the signal object. Let's give it a signal. Let's give it Euro USD. Well, let's run this. 1 second. Let's see what's going on here. Give me a minute. 1 second. The issue was that I was trying to get the current buy and sell signals, but from previous dates. So I actually had to change it, the datetime object to now. So datetime.now as opposed to before where I had it set to the January 1st. So I had to send it to now that way to clean it up. That's why I was telling me something was wrong with the time object. And I'm like, what the fuck you mean something's wrong with the time object? Well, it's because I was trying to go to an old time object. So switch the middle section to datetime.now. And you should be all set from there. So run this, and then call the signal. And true and false. True means that the first value, which is buy, it's a buy, and false means it's a sell. So basically, what it's saying is the only out of these two, though, the true value means is the buy. So it would say that Euro USD is a buy right now. False means that it's not true. So if we switch them around, you're going to see what I mean. It's going to switch the values as well. So you see false buy. So if we switch, you put any other currency pairs in here, I'm pretty sure it will kind of give you different values based on how this is set up. Let me just run this again. So gold is a buy. Wow. Let's do Audi USD. It's a sell. So see, Australian dollar USD. So I would run this a couple of times. It's also in the GitHub repository. And in part 2, we're going to transform this into a buy and sell bot. All of these errors are kind of making me tired. So I'm going to do this in a part 2, but definitely go through this video again and kind of see how everything kind of works. So thank you again, guys. See you guys in the next video.